it going, everybody? This is the Stimulus Check Hub here to give you your daily stimulus check and unemployment benefits updates and latest information. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. A like and a comment are always appreciated. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing this with your friends and family, because I'm sure they would also like the most up-to-date information on their stimulus checks and unemployment benefits available anywhere on YouTube, which is what I try to provide here on this channel.
Officially, as of Thursday, December 9th, 2021, President Joe Biden has officially released this statement very recently, which came out right here, coming directly from the White House's government's official website, so you know it's as official as it possibly can be, where it pretty much just talks and highlights about how the country is currently doing economically, but also in regards to things such as like unemployment and the jobs market. There are two things that his statement recently focuses on. Part of it is basically about getting Americans back to work, and then also interestingly focusing a lot about getting prices and things essentially related to like the inflation and the supply chain issue in order. And again, because at the end of the day, both of these things are actually very related, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. The big information that he has recently revealed is pretty much about the data and the statistics and the report about our country. Essentially is that he's made a statement that right now at this current time, the unemployment rate is about 4.2%. So it's definitely, improving there. About 6 million jobs have officially been added ever since he entered into the White House. So there's improvement there. And probably the even more significant jump in number is about how we have officially gone from when President Joe Biden first entered into the White House almost 1 year ago. As crazy as to think how fast time flies, we went from essentially having about 18 million people inside of our country collect unemployment benefits every single week. And again, keep in mind, this is pretty much when all of the unemployment programs were going on. Things such as, of course, traditional unemployment, to things like the PUC, PUA, the FedEd, the EB, the MEUC, all of those programs were still pretty much existent. There's a lot of old videos about that, so definitely feel free to check it out. Lots of memories from, where everything started. But the big idea is that his new statement has now officially come out to release that the number of unemployment claimants every week has now gone from 18 million to now right around 2 million people that are now actively collecting unemployment every single week. So keep in mind is that this does not mean that 2 million people are unemployed. What this means is that 2 million people are actually actively collecting unemployment. So there could be a lot more people, and how much more, that's a very great question. We don't have information about that, but it's definitely speculated to be many more. So the idea is that in numbers, visual, aesthetics, we are seeing improvement, because at the end of the day, 18 million people collected unemployment. Now only 2 million people are collecting unemployment. But this does not necessarily mean that 2 million people are actually unemployed, because there's many people that are unemployed but not actually collecting unemployment. So they are not part of that number count. So that pretty much just covers things related to the job market side of his brand new statement about how the country is doing. Now, the rest of the article, or the rest of his personal statement that he really talks about, is really pretty much now focused a lot more about inflation and supply chain. Essentially, what's going on is that he wants to make his next focus. So after now that we're moving forward, especially his plans entering into 2022, he wants to now focus everything going forward much more about trying to cure or solve the inflation and the supply chain issue. The big overall just story to what's happening is that right now there are a lot of logistic difficulties about things related to like supplies, resources, things that exist in our country. Everything is very related, because the significance of this is that because if we end up having things disrupted or happening with our supply chain, a lot of this stuff is going to influence the things such as like the job markets, is because when we do have a healthy supply chain, we are also able to create more jobs, create more businesses are able to be better, and essentially everyone, every single person, us, people, unemployed workers, business owners, we can all thrive together at the end of the day. And that's really the biggest focus that he's really trying to work on. And I guess an even more follow-up to that is that the other big information that we're really waiting for going forward from here is that we are also waiting for more information about something that I think is a lot less talked about, but it's pretty much about the Consumer Prices Report. So what this is that every single month or so, we get a new information about how the market is doing in terms of jobs and unemployment, but we also get another report that comes out that just basically talks about the average prices and the cost of everything currently inside of our country, whether this has to do with things like food, gas, resources, energy, bills, everything in that world. So the biggest fear that's going on right now is that many people are very afraid of the inflation situation, because if the inflation, and it actually already is starting to happen actually, but if it truly goes out of control, the biggest fears is that it will become a thing now where everything in our country will start to cost a lot more money. You may or may not have already noticed this, feel free to comment, but I just remember, for example, I'm in New York, and I remember not that many years ago, we're talking about maybe 10 years ago, I used to be able to get lunch for probably about like $5 or $6 as a lunch special, but today, many of these places, the prices for lunch is now actually going up to about like the $10, sometimes even $20 now for just a solid dinner. I do notice, for example, college tuition has now officially, shockingly, at many private universities, have gone essentially from about like $45,000 to $50,000 about 10 years ago, and now there's many private universities where their full tuition is now actually right around $80,000. Like, that is the wild thing, that there are actually people paying about $80,000 per year to go to college in this time period right now. But that's really the biggest thing that I think he's really trying to focus on right now, which is about controlling the prices before it truly gets to some extreme level, which is wild because we just got out of, well, we're still actually in a pandemic to this day, but it's just what's physically happening. Now, what is the significance to why I mentioned everything that I just mentioned and how this actually relates to unemployment is really that because the biggest reason right now is that when it comes to the world of doing fourth unemployment extensions, the story is that because based off of his statement, he sees that the unemployment, the jobs market, everything in the economy is starting to go back to normal, it's starting to improve, and it's starting to get better. The hard news and significance to what his statement means is that because he sees everything as getting better, it does mean is that the probability of seeing more unemployment on a federal level, so specifically like universally across 50 states, the hard news really to take in is that it probably will not be the biggest focus. It can still be on the table, but it's probably not going to be the biggest focus. The focus, based off of his new statement, is pretty much now about trying to improve the other areas of the economy. Now, with that being said, the even bigger significance is that it is still very possible to see more unemployment, but at this current point in time, the most probable thing that we will probably see with unemployment is seeing it happen much more on a state or a circumstantial level. And we actually already see a lot of different programs that are happening. I did make a couple of videos, feel free to check it out. I'll put it at the very end screen. It just talks a lot more about unemployment programs that are actually still available to this very day. But the big bottom line story is that because of how he sees the country and everything improving, it does mean that on a federal level, the hard news is that it's probably going to be difficult to see some more unemployment come federally because of what's happening. The hopeful news is that it's still very probable to see it on a very state or focus level, especially because to this day, there are still a lot of representatives that are still preaching for it. AOC, Wyden, the friends of AOC and the friends of Wyden, there are still many people that actually do support the unemployment, but the only difference is that most of them happen to be representatives that probably have a lot more power on a much more local scale.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Like and a comment are always appreciated. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing this with your friends and family, because I'm sure they would also like the most up-to-date information on their stimulus checks and unemployment benefits available anywhere on YouTube. Have a good one.